Got cut off on the last video, but this is going to be the continuation where I go into a little bit more detail. I'm really just going over the chart before we add anything else. Okay, we still have it in Hakanashi candles. Okay, so if you're that kind of person, we're going to go ahead. We're just going to go ahead and back up in time. These are where I put in trades. So if you see that, that's just where I had trades going on. But the last video is basically a brief description, which I'll basically be saying a lot of the same stuff, and to get the settings. But when I cut off on the video, what I was going to tell you is about unfinished business. Okay, as you can see, all these lines are unfinished business. Back out. That's basically as far as I can go. All right, but yeah, so we have unfinished business here, got cleared out, unfinished business. And then we have all this unfinished business up here until stuff got cleared out. But it doesn't look like it did because the candles are down here. What you're seeing here are just where I took trades. All right. That's what I was going to say in the last video before I cut off and had to go do some other work for something else. And now, go ahead. Now, I prefer regular candles. It helps me on tops and bottoms. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back over, and to do that, we go into Delta series. And for this particular chart, I like using the regular candle, so we'll do minute. Apply. Click OK, and we'll let it do its cut. Now the market's closed. Regular markets are closed, so we're basically working off old information. We'll give it a moment here to load. And we'll go ahead and we'll get rid of that so we can make the screen a little bit bigger. And to bring this up or down, or have it here or not, you can just click on this one right here. Looks like a little blender for bowls. There might be a particular name for it, but I call it a blender. And you can go off, and that'll get rid of it. It looks like we're still calculating. Now, if you like adding lines and tools and stuff like that, we'll go ahead and we're going to add two things to this chart, just because what you're familiar with on pocket options. So this will kind of make things a little bit easier for what you're used to seeing. So we'll go ahead and go into indicators. And we're going to use drawings. Am I missing it? Right here, drawing tool. All right, and double click that. And we're also going to add bar timer. So this way we can see the countdown for the candle. And we are going to edit that one. And I usually like to put it like right here in the middle. Sometimes it'll put it down here, but if you put other indicators on, it removes it and won't let you add it back unless you move it somewhere else. So we're going to move the position of it. And so right here it says bottom right. I'm going to put it in middle right. So now we have both those extra indicators. Well, this isn't really an indicator, it's the toolbar for drawing, which will put it right there. Timer bar will go right here. And we'll click apply. Click OK. And now we let it do all its calculating. Like, this is one of the downsides about it, but because we're doing tick information, it's necessary. And if I remember correctly, there's a setting. I'll wait and show you when I zoom in. They may not have it no more. They may. I haven't really paid too much attention to it. But it can help sometimes with volume, of knowing what volume, how much volume was in that candle. Besides just using the arrows. And the arrows are like the speed of buyers and sellers going at it. Alright, so we're waiting for this to catch up. So we now have the toolbar. So you can add your, if you like Fibonacci or anything like that, squares to do stuff, create resistance lines, or I should say resistance boxes, or if you're into trading off the POC sometimes and figuring out where the point of control is. So like, if I had to guess, if you were to go from here, if you drew a line, there's a TradingView has an indicator set up. I believe this one does as well. I just don't really use it because I can kind of spot it. But you would go from here, you draw a line, you click on that particular thing, click from here to here, and what it's going to do is bring up a box up from like here to down here of this section and show you the volume and where the most of the buying and selling was, basically the point of control. And if I had to guess, by looking at this, we have that right there, we have this right here, so I would assume the point of control is right in this area. And what they'll do is they'll wait for it, so it came out, which is the manipulation, came down, and then what people do is wait to see and retest on the point of control. And if it rejects off the point of control, they'll take their trade for going down. If it goes through, they'll wait for another retest on it, and then or they'll take their trade. But some people will wait and see if it does another retest and do their trade going up if it broke through the point of control. All right. And in this one, it didn't break through. It just came and retested and started coming down. So most people, if they're not using the ribbon bounce or anything, they probably would put their trade in for down here and rid it if they're doing long trading or short trading. Because right here, there's quite a few pips and ticks there. So there was some money to be made. We're going to go ahead. And we did this section already. So we're going to kind of back up in time. And again, if you're just catching on to this video and didn't see the video where I added to the chart and with the settings, you'll want to check the video before this one. And I think I called that one setting up get the exact name for you so you can see it. Basically, if I remember correctly, the title is How to Set Up TDU Buy - Sell Momentum Indicator on NinjaTrader 8 with the ribbon bounce strategy. Alright, so we'll start here. Here's another set. I did a bunch of trading in here. One of them I actually took a loss not a big loss, and then just came back in on another thing and got my money back. But we'll start after that and work our way forward. And we'll go ahead and zoom in. But as you can see, there was unfinished business here. They came up and got that and started working their way. We had unfinished business there. You know, I guess maybe the best way would be just to zoom in. So, and where I took trades. So right here, it came up. Now, when I first got into this, if I remember correctly, it was down in, no, yeah, I believe it was down in this area before. So it was when I first hopped onto the chart and started looking at things. All right, so, but looking at it, you can see, remember, we don't know any of this yet. We only see this from here to there. So I see that we had unfinished business here. And then it came down. We had a little bit of unfinished there because it still broke down. Let me zoom in a little for you. There you go. So seeing all that, and then it came back up, unfinished business, and wiped that out, and then started coming back down. Now we had the Pikachu, so it's letting us know there's a lot of shit going on in regards to Delta. There's basically an imbalance going on, and the market's trying to correct that issue. But as you can see, it went up, and then it wound up actually leaving unfinished business there, and came down and got this unfinished business, then went back up, cleared that unfinished business out, started working, but basically we're consolidating right there, or this is absorption. Consolidating can be a couple of things, but it's just an easier way for people to say a particular area and without knowing, was it absorption going on? Sorry, what's the other one? Absorption and I can't remember the other name right now. I apologize. All right. But following down, we hit the first yellow ribbon, which is a low ribbon for not very strong. But if you were doing like a Keltner channel or something like that, you could kind of get an idea if it was just to be riding that one line. But it broke through, cleared out the unfinished business here. Once if I would have seen that in hard, and then I seen it come here, and I started seeing the white line around the candle, I probably would have put a trade in for going down, knowing they're going to try and clear this unfinished business right here. And then it came down, got rejected on the blue, which is the medium strength. And as you can see, let's see if I can get a little closer here. As it's coming down, as you can see, we can start to see that the majority of the buyers and the buying and selling happened at the bottom of this candle, and it's basically kind of a doji, and it's at the blue line, so we can assume it's going to go up a little, maybe not a lot, and as you can see there, it's what it did. So you could put in a trade for going up 1 minute, or if you're doing institutional trading, and rid it up to here and got out. All right. And because it's going up, but we have 2 arrows for going down, so we know there's some buying pressure, or I mean not buying, selling pressure for going down, and it's kind of retesting. So this would be a good idea to get out if you were doing institutional trading on a micro mini, or you could just went up to here, maybe take the chance for here, okay, and see and get out. But once that would have been a small candle, you definitely want to decide, do you want to get out or still try and ride it up? But once you get this information between being below the weak line, the two arrows of for a lot of selling power going down, you'd want to get out, especially once you see that the majority of the buying and selling happened here at the bottom as well. Now, once it came over and it created a new one, there was a lot of selling power, the speed of it between buyers and sellers basically, and pushing it down. It left contracts still open, waiting. Okay, so this is where it came down. It hit the red line, and they're trying to push. They're trying to push pretty hard, and as you can see, the speed is increased twice fold, and yet but the majority of the buying and selling is below the coloring of the candle. So we could see they're finding a lot of rejection on trying to go down, but it looks like they were trying their best to get down to this unfinished business here, possibly this unfinished business. Okay, and then that's when it started coming back up. So you could have been looking for a trade, because we know there's two unfinished business marks here that they're going to want to try and come get that before they make any big moves, because could be a lot going on. There could be a lot of contracts on these lines. These lines, my ribbon bounce lines or bands, they're not set at low key points. They're set at high key points where transition between candles happens a lot more than like if you were on a 9. Well, let me rephrase this. If you were on a 9 EMA or SMA, whatever, the candles would be crossing a lot more through that line back and forth, which can give you good places to take trades if you're into trading quick. But for me, it was more about a quality trade. I prefer quality trades. And that's where I kind of found someone else who was talking about different things and his strategy with his bands. So I was able to take away from that and create my own bands that are in key areas for when a transition will usually happen on. If it hits one, it'll probably, and it goes through, it'll probably hit the next one and then rebounce. Or if it goes through, it'll probably hit the next one and bounce. So you kind of get like 3 chances to correct. Now, even if it bounced on the third one, it could still go down a little bit further. But usually it'll bounce and come back up a little and then go down more. So it's a key area where you can catch a trade. Okay? And that's when they're spread apart, kind of like this, or bigger. All right. But once, like here, we have the transition where the candles came. And what a lot of people will do is they wait for the retest to hit on this line. Okay, now on this one, it didn't really come down on this line. It came and then went sideways and then started going up. And so this is kind of a bad example. All right, but we can surmise that, hey, there's a lot of unbusiness. It's been going, it's come down to here. Let's see if we can, like, it's been trying to trade sideways, but there was a lot of work going on in here. So they're basically trying to come back up and redo that. And as you can see, when it starts doing its moves, it's bouncing off of these lines, and it doesn't always do it, but there are key areas where it happens more often, where it's a more quality trade than if you were on a 9 line, 10 line, a 20 line, a 50 line even. Okay, because they're set for such high key spots. Let's go ahead and go back to this section where we were. Now we're going to get into kind of where I was trading. You have to keep it right in here. Okay, so coming down, there was a hard that push, came back up. All right, to see where I was saying where it came down, it did get through. It's finally through the green. It went through the blue, and now it's getting rejected off the red, which is the strongest mark spot. So you could look to get your 1 minute trade in, possibly a 5 minute trade, or if you're institutional trading, which is what me and Renee are going to be doing on mini contracts. You get in here, you can see where the majority of the buying and selling was here, and then it came up. Even though they were pushing pretty hard down, they were unsuccessful, and it went up. So the odds are it's going to go up. Okay, so you could have got in and got your trade, and then they got that, cleared out the rest of these contracts, cleared out the rest of these contracts. There was a hard push to get past the green line, which is the weakest of the three, and they pushed up. All right, and then let's see, unfinished contracts starting to come down. They pushed up to finish those contracts, then come down to finish out these contracts. And as you can see, we had a right here, it hit and it stopped, it didn't finish out. Now it came here, and then it pushed all the way to here. It left some empty contracts even. Basically, it pushed all the way down to clear out the rest of these contracts here. As you can see, the majority of the buying and selling was here on the ribbon, and it started pushing up. So if you want, you could have got in somewhere in here, or even down here, thinking maybe it's just going to clear that contract, because it wasn't green down here. So you could look to get your trade in down here for going up for a little bit, and that would have been a little bit of money for 1 minute or for institutional trading on a micro trade. And then it came back down, so you could see. So like what I did is, you'll see here is once it came down, okay, and then it went up. But because we had the two candles here, this one here and this one, the majority of the buying and selling was here. It pushed up, but it didn't close out above here, which is where the majority of the buying and selling was, and the majority of buying and selling on this candle was here. So I took a trade right in here for going down, okay, and I rid it all the way down to here. Well, not to here, I actually closed out right in this section where the unfinished business was. All right, so I earned a little bit of money. Now riding again, it hit that line, okay, and then we had the doji where it closed out it had two unfinished businesses there, and one right here, and the majority of the buying and selling was there below the line. So I put in two contracts right here in this section for going down, and I closed it out, and then it popped back up. But I closed out, and that's one of the things I like about doing this kind of trading is I'm not stuck in the candle until it closes anymore. All right, so, and I'll speak about that here like here. Let's say I seen this, I figured it out, and I put a trade in right here for going down. Now that candle could have been just as small as this, but there was that hard push. So when I see candles that pump really quick, and I don't think the candles are going to be very big in the long run, I will take it and I will let that hard push, and I will close the trade out to where it would have been down in here instead of up in here or something like that, because I don't know where that candle is going to close. Okay, and that's basically what I did here. There was a push down, and I knew they were going to try and clear out these two contracts as much as possible. All right. So then, once it came down, all these contracts have been cleared. we had buying and selling. The majority of it was here, and it went up. So I figured, okay, what we'll do is we'll put in one trade for going up, one contract, and I did that, and I read that, okay. And then once I seen here, I decided to go ahead and stay in it and add another contract. So now I have two contracts open, and once it got to here, and I seen that the majority of the buying and selling was at the top here. So I decided, since thinking maybe it was going to do a downtrend, so I pretend there was a line there, and I went ahead and closed that trade out up here. So that was my winning trade there. So now we have a red candle coming down. There's a lot of buying and selling going on. The speed is at 2 times the speed for them trying to push it up. Okay. And then with the yellow or with the white line around it, we know there's a lot of volume. Okay. And it came down. It created unfinished business. So I was a little worried, and I didn't want to put in a trade in case it came down a little bit more to clear out that business. But then it went up, and it left. The majority of buying and selling was right here, and there was unfinished business when this candle closed at here, and down here. So we have 3 marks for unfinished business above the weak line. Okay, and then it came up more, and look, it had more unfinished business. So I was like, okay, we got this one down, and so what I decided is I put in a trade for sell, and I just read it down because I figured it's going to try and come down and get here. So I stayed in even when it came up, and it went up. It went up to here, and the majority of buying. So I felt a little better when the majority of buying was up here, and the candle came down and went up a little more. Finally, because now I'm getting worried because that's a pretty high candle from where I was. All right, so once it came down and I seen the majority of the buying power and the time of the candle was almost over, I closed that trade out for profit. Now we're moving on to the next sections. As you can see, we're starting to get rejection off the line. So if you were looking for a trade going up, you could have probably, okay, this is looking good, and put your trade in here and ride it up and close it out or stay in it. But if you would have been the type to do a 1 minute and this closed out and came down, you would have lost that trade. That's, again, one of the reasons why me and Renee we're not really trading on pocket options anymore. We're sticking with NinjaTrader. We're going to be doing micro trading with E-mini contracts. And as we build our accounts, we'll be able to get into the bigger contracts. But if you see you're losing and let's say you have on pocket options a $25 trade set, okay, and on E-mini contracts you put one in and it goes down $4, negative $4, and you determine, you know what, I don't think this trade's going to go where I want. You can close that trade out and just lose the $4 plus the transaction fee, so you don't lose the whole $25. All right. Being able to get in and out of the contract is a godsend as far as I'm concerned. If I remember correctly, IQ options allows you to do that as well, even on if you were trading binary options like we are all familiar with. You can get out of the contract. And I really wanted to use them, but they don't allow Americans, so I can't use them. Maybe if you live in another country, which the majority of all of you do, you can probably use IQ options, which would be a better situation as far as I'm concerned. in more control over your trading versus what pocket options allows you to do. Okay. So let's go ahead, and I believe we are, yeah, we finished up here. Okay. So right here, let's see. So we came up. Now, when I was doing this, I didn't have the Pikachus turned on. So we're just going to leave that alone. And move on. So, but as I could see, basically for this section, it looks like it's trying, I know we have unfinished business up here. It looks like it's trying to get its way up there. Whether it's going to get there, I don't know. But what I decided was we had unfinished business here. Okay. So I've actually put in a sell on this mark, or down here, actually. Okay. Because, wait a minute, if I remember correctly. No, that's right. I put the sell in up here. Okay. Figuring it was going to come down a little bit more once it hit that unfinished business. And at the same time, I seen where the majority of the buying and selling was here. But I was just doing it so I was figuring maybe this would drop down more before it would start going up. So I actually stayed into it, even though, all right. And then once it came over to here, I seen it pop down here, and that's when I closed the trade out. I believe I actually lost money on that because of transaction fees. Okay. No, wait. No, that's right. I stayed in it, and then figuring it was going to hit there and come down. That's right. That's what I was thinking, because I wound up putting in another contract. So I had two contracts right here. It came up, closed out, finished the business, and I basically stayed into this trade, even though I was in the negative, until I got all the way down here. And then when I seen there was unfinished business here, and it cleared that out, I thought maybe it'll come down a little bit more. So I stayed into it, and then once I got the two, I figured it, since it got the wick came all the way down to here, if I remember correctly, the majority of the buying and selling looks like it was right here. So I was worried that it may not stay and it'll go up. So what I did is I actually closed out right in this area here for a profit with both these contracts. Now we're moving on. So it had a lot of volatility for coming down. It broke through. It came and cleared out this unfinished business here for contracts, and then it went up. But again, I'm staying out of it because there's not enough information here for me to make a decision. We could just see some trading sideways, which is what we see, but I was thinking much smaller trading sideways. But once this went all the way up to here and then came down, I figured, okay, we may stay below the line. Okay, but the majority of the buying was here, a lot of volatility. And then once I seen we had the majority of the buying here, and the candle couldn't go any farther, and then we had the wick and came up, so the majority of buying was here again. So I assumed, and then once it went up hard like that, I figured, okay, I'm betting they're going to push this candle up higher. And that's what they did. So I put a buy in here, and I closed out up here for a little bit of profit. Then it came down some more, pushing. So you can see, so if we were doing a volume for the POC for point of control, the odds are we would put it from here to here. Okay, or no, from here to here. and it would let us know where the strength was. So if most likely it was probably, let's see, we have that one, we have that one. So probably the point of control would have been right here. Okay. So assuming like most people would do, did it come out, they'll retest that point of control line. It went through, all right, but we're still within the section. So, and then it came down. All right, so some people would consider that to be the retest of the point of control, and then maybe take their trade for going down. Okay, but I just was, I seen this, took it, and then I ignored. So once it now came down, we had leftover business for contracts waiting to be picked up. They pushed to get it, and then we had this nice big candle for going up, even though the majority of the buying and selling was going down or pushing for down. All right, but they didn't. So basically, the sellers were being absorbed into this, and the buyers were in control. Plus, we were at the blue line, which is the medium strength. So between that section and everything that was pushing, and then I seen right here that it basically, the majority of the buying and selling was right here. It went up, came down a little bit, but got rejected again some more. And I actually put my trade in this section. And then once it went up, okay, let's see, and then I wound up closing it out in this area. Now we're moving on. Now in this, we left so when it came back down, or no, yeah, I closed out in this area for now. And then when it came back down, it left unfinished business. Now, because this is in such a consolidation zone, I knew they were going to at least try to. I knew they were going to come back and try to get this. Plain and simple. It's too small of an area for them to ignore. So once they came back, I seen that they were going back for it. I figured that next candle would go up, and I took a trade and I got out up here. Okay, where the point of where the buying and selling was. Even all right. And as you can see, we'll move the candle over, chart over a little bit more. There we go. So once they did that, it came down again. There was that hard push up, okay, because we have unfinished business here. If not correctly, I think this is where I took a loss, okay, because I put my trade in here, figuring, and then it wound up coming up, and then I closed it out up here. All right, because I wasn't sure. I knew they were kind of going for this unfinished business once I was up in this area, but I wasn't sure if it would continue going up. Okay, so I just got out of it and took the loss. And then I put in, think, okay, it came down. Let's get my sell in again. Okay, so I'm now sitting here with a trade open, one contract, and the sucker came back up because we had unfinished business again. All right, and this time I decided, okay, they're going to get this. They're trying to push it down. Most likely, since this is a good size range between the blue and here, I think they're going to get it. It didn't pass through to get that second one. It only came to this first one. So once it came down and I seen it going back up, I was like, okay, they're going to clear this top one and then come back down. So I stayed in it this time as it went up, and I rid it all the way down to here and closed out. I didn't for whatever reason, I don't remember why, but I closed out in this area. Okay. For some profit. All right. So now we have that. Do I have any other trades that I took there? Move out. So that was my process of everything I did there. Let's see if I have, all right here. Okay. This one I sat in it for a while. And I actually missed a section to close out. I think it was, I would have lost money because of transaction fees. This is why I stayed in it, but no, or I wasn't paying attention. But basically, I seen this hard push. I cleared out all the unfinished business. It was below the red line. So I figured, okay, it's going to probably stay down. All right. And what it did is a reverse. But so I got a sell in. But I figured, all right, maybe it'll come in and get rejected off one of these lines. Maybe hit the unfinished business. Because right here, you could see they tried to push it up. They couldn't get it and left a whole bunch of unfinished business, majority buying and selling before they tried to push. All right. So you could see they're trying to push back up to it. But so I stayed in it. I risked it. I think it wound up going up to, I want to say around 50, no, I think around 90 some odd dollar or 100 and some dollar negative. And then it started coming down, and then it went back up. Like I stayed in this one. I had a feeling it was going to go down. And once I started seeing it was making the M pattern, a lot of my worry started going away. All right, but once it came to here, hit, pushed with the two arrows, and then we had a lot of buying and selling going on here. And then here, like I stayed into it, but once I seen that the majority of the buying and selling was here, and it came up, and now it's going to close up here, so I closed out in this section for profit. Because I wasn't sure if it was going to continue going down or wind up going back. So I just took my profit for what I could. Now, if you were in binary options, you probably would have been lost that trade. Let's see where I got in. So if you got in here and you bought for going down, assuming you would have lost, okay, because it went up. Go ahead and go over here, look for other sections. Now, like right here, I think that's the end of my trades I took. But like for right here, where it came up, it cleared out the unfinished business that's been sitting up here for a while. It's trying to push, and it couldn't really push much higher than where it was here. Then we have unfinished business there, even though it got cleared out there. But once you got to Pikachu, that's a good sign that this market's going to probably go back down. So you could be looking to get a trade to go in for going down. So if I would have waited, not here, I seen this good red candle here, put in a trade for going down, I could have cleared at least to here, because I know it's going to probably get rejected down on these lines, especially once it gets to this unfinished business and clicks out. So I'd be looking definitely to get out of this candle or that candle. Right. I think that goes into pretty good detail of how to use this chart. And that's just with the ribbon bounce bands and using the the TDU Buy Sell Momentum indicator. And there are other things you can do with this indicator and have other things on this chart, have it give you alarm sounds, It's very versatile, but I kept it pretty simple. Like we can even add divergent lines on here, but again, I have a particular divergent system I use that I feel it allows me to add it to any other indicator or any candle. So if I have an indicator down here, I can add that divergence to that indicator. And then let's say I have another indicator, I can add a divergence with different settings to that indicator, even though it's the same one. So I have to get back to work. Talk to you later.